I don't know if I would have changed many things, because I really see all the steps that got me here as part of the process. Pottery is something that people borrow ideas from each other because it is an art that has existed for tens of thousands of years. What knowledge I have of the art, I love being able to pass on to other people. My name is Alison Ryczek. I'm a professional potter. I've been making pottery for 23 years now. We moved in 2019 with the intention of this being my studio, and I built it first just in one half. I kind of had just my wheel, little setup, and then I quickly got like 4 wheels, and I started doing little mini classes. It was also like just at the start of COVID, so I didn't want people to, be in crowds, so I kind of did little groups. I was a school teacher. I'm an elementary education teacher. I taught for 14 years, and while doing that, I built up my love for pottery. I now just make pottery full time. I love doing it. I love teaching it. I love making pots all day. I love constructing things out of clay. I love coming up with an idea and just being able to see it through and challenging myself. All right, so I throw the clay down. I'm gonna just pat it down just to be sure it's really stuck to the wheel. So when I was in high school, I took pottery courses and I absolutely loved it. And then when I went to college to get my degree in education, I had to take a fine arts. I naturally was drawn to ceramics and knew I was comfortable in it and pretty good at it. So I felt confident and I wanted to do something I could continue growing in. And my teacher at school was this amazing woman, Elizabeth Nields, and she absolutely inspired me. She had this farm on sprawling land up in Otsego, New York, and I went and stayed with her for a summer for a few weeks. And I just loved everything about just making art and making pottery, and just seeing her work inspired me. I knew that was something I'd always do and I'd always have as a part of my life. I prefer a little bit of a groggier clay. Grog is kind of little bits of already fired clay that gives a grittiness, and that coarseness actually allows the clay to hold its shape a little bit better. This clay is a bit finer, has less grog, so it's a lot softer. I think every artist needs a mentor, somebody to really give them that push. I remember kind of being stuck in a place and, with my work, with my art, and feeling like I couldn't grow past little shapes. And my teacher at the time just saying why aren't you working with more clay? Just make bigger, go bigger. What's the worst that can happen? And it kind of taught me to just push and be a little more brave and try bigger shapes, try bigger forms. And I think there's just a lot of really good networks out there of people sharing ideas. Each pot kind of teaches you something about pottery. I like to travel with my family and by myself, and I like to see pottery in other areas of the world, and I get inspired by those, and just seeing the way pottery has been made for all those thousands of years, and looking back at, an old design or an old style and saying, I want to make that. I want to, find a way to incorporate that design into my work. For this guy, I'm just going to lift it off like this. So I'm going to pull a handle. Pulling a handle means to kind of take a hunk of clay and stretch out clay, kind of like you're milking a cow. I love the sense of just that this is my home. My dogs will be laying around in here. My kids will pop in if they're, home from school. And it's a very genuine environment. It's a very real feeling. So this is my pitcher. It'll dry for a while. Once it gets bone dry, it'll go in the kiln for its bisque firing, and then it'll get its second firing, which is the glaze firing. So glazes are actually not paints. Glazes are a mixture of water as the base, but also silica, alumina, and then colorings that come from minerals. So it might have iron rich, it might have copper, it might have zinc. All of those, including fluxes, and that's what gives different melting points, all create the finishes that you see on stoneware pottery. So right now I'm mixing it with a, real classy toilet bowl brush, but they are tried and true. And then I'm going to run it through wire mesh sieve. I'm trying to work all those little particles down a little smaller. Those different minerals in there are going to make it look one way, but under fire at over 2,100 to 200 degrees, they're going to change color in oxidation. And they get 2 firings. The first is called a bisque firing. This helps get all that extra moisture out, fire out all those impurities in the clay, and then make it a nice clean body for dipping or pouring in glazes. Pottery can be very gate-kept, so I like to kind of make it very open to people and accessible to try. I make pottery for function. I really like functional pottery, but I love to expand on some of my glazing and always trying new techniques. And I think pottery is such an endless art form that you can just take it in so many directions, or you could try working on different types of forms. You can even then try working on different types of trimming or different types of glazing. And there's many parts of the process that can be, kind of varied. And I think that's a great way to continue to grow. And I see it as an art that I can always learn more. I can always find more inspiration. I never predicted I'd be doing it full time this early in my life. I actually thought it was always going to be my retirement dream, that I'd always have a studio, I'd always make my own art for me, and then I'd also probably have a full-time job, that it wouldn't sustain me as an artist on its own. And it has grown, and now it is my full-time, and I do often remind myself how incredibly lucky I am that it has grown to a place where I can do this full time. I can be a potter. I can do this.